Welcome, Viz Alumni, to our virtual reunion 2020. I'm Stephanie Russ Johnson, class of 99, and the Alumni Programs Associate here at Viz. And I would like to thank you on behalf of everyone here at school for joining us tonight. While of course we wish that we could gather in person, we are grateful for the technology that allows us to still connect with each other and with the school. One silver lining to going virtual is that we're able to include alums from all over: Alaska, Hawaii, Canada, Costa Rica, and there are alums attending tonight from the class of 1947 all the way through 2019, a span of more than 70 years of Viz grads. So stay tuned, we have special guest appearances, remarks from Head of School Renee Gavick, a toast to our milestone classes, some fun announcements, and even a few teacher cameos. There will also be chances to win prizes with our Viz trivia game. To participate, you do need to be logged into YouTube, so be sure to take a minute to do that now. You'll then be able to use the chat function to submit your answers. There are 5 trivia questions, so 5 chances to win, and we'll announce those results at the end of tonight's event. Immediately following our program tonight, be sure to find your Zoom link for your class year's Crescent Chat and log in to socialize and reconnect with fellow alums. You can find those links in the email that was sent this morning, as well as on the reunion page of the school's website. So, let's get started. Welcome to Visitation's Virtual Reunion 2020.
Hello to all you dear alumni. I'm Sister Mary Paula McCarthy, class of 47. And after 68 years in the Visitation, I crossed the river and I've been graciously welcomed by the Minneapolis Monastery Sisters of the Visitation. As usual, we'll begin with a prayer. Dear loving God, we come to thank you for the places, the persons, and the events which have helped to shape our lives. Each of us will think of what is important to us. Perhaps we remember among places The chapel, the study hall, and the grated window at the portress store. The hockey rink, a hockey field flooded in winter for skating. Or perhaps it's the wider expanse of the Dodd Road sky, the shiny gym without pillars, the brightly colored floor of the commons, the state-of-the-art auditorium. Each of us has a favorite memory. So many persons to remember. Sister Jane Margaret, who disciplined with a mighty clap. Sister Mary Helen, who never lost her Boston accent. Beata Gaskell, who moved us to worldwide thinking. If we came later, we might think of Sisters Perrin Marie and Marie Therese, of Senora Cutter or Miss O'Connor, or of Messrs. Langer, Tashan, and the whole range of male professors who brought gender equity to a former all-female front. And the events. Oh, first let us remember our favorite persons. And the events. Offertory processions followed by Missa Recitata toast. Miss Kellett reciting Why the Chimes Rang. May processions, crowning of Mary. Or perhaps a later date, pep rallies, lunch on the patio, freshman fling. We remember all of these memories have made us the women we are today. And let me not forget the smaller group of men. As we remember and thus remember the body of Christ, as we become aware of the sacred places, persons, and events in our lives, we pledge to support this precious legacy that has been ours. And we ask, O God, you who have blessed Visitation and been blessed by Visitation for 147 years, that you continue this precious legacy into the future. It is through the intercession of Mary, who took part in the Visitation, that we pray in the name of her Son, Jesus. Amen.
Greetings, Vis alums, especially the anniversary classes. I'm Sister Mary Frances Reese, better known as Franny Reese, class of 55. I greet you this day also on behalf of Sister Bridget Marie Keith, class of 1960, and Sister Mary Denise William, class of 1956. Over the past few years, I have been honored and challenged to assist Archbishop Hebda in the process of closing our beloved Visitation Monastery. The theme of this year's reunion, looking back with gratitude, looking forward with hope, holds the sentiments that I feel. Having lived almost 30 years in the Mendota Heights Monastery and now 30 years in North Minneapolis, I have looked back with gratitude for the grounding that I received in this community, in this sacred space of the Visitation Monastery. Recently, I was here working on our 148 years of archives. Little did I realize the hope I would experience, hope in action. What a transformation I witnessed in our monastery. As I walked by the convent parlor, there was a Montessori class in session. Down the hall in the monastery, the sisters' infirmary had been transformed and converted into a spacious student infirmary. Our refectory dining room now serves as a high school classroom. We retreated to lunch in the gazebo in the monastery garden, and what joy it gave me to see faculty having their noon break there, and seniors implementing their senior privilege. You remember senior privilege. Lunch outdoors in the sisters' yard. Finally, red uniformed middle school athletes trotted by the gazebo after a soccer session on our monastery grounds. Hope in action. The living legacy of the sisters was so evident in the vibrant new community now inhabiting these walls. Our founders would be smiling even in these pandemic times. And so I say to each of you, welcome home to Visitation.
Hello, sisters all. I'm Sister Catherine Mullen, proud member of Class of 58. I love the reunion theme this year with its emphasis on hope. In these trying times, it's hard to have hope. And I say to myself, hope. I have come up with a remedy or two for myself, and I'll just pass that on to you. Picture a person who just exudes hope, even during these times, and bring her close up into your heart. Or if you're reading the morning paper and you read about someone who is especially doing something hopeful out there for the world, and then tell those stories. Think about them yourself and spread hope that way. Francis de Sales says, encourage one another with holy hope. So that is my message that I'm trying to live and pass it on to you today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Gavick, and I am head of school. I am absolutely delighted to welcome all of you to our Reunion 2020, where we are looking back with gratitude and looking forward with hope. Gratitude, of course, for the beautiful example that our sisters have shown us on how to thrive even under hardship. Gratitude for the immeasurable community support and partnership with all of you, our alums. And hope as we watch our school continue to flourish even during difficult times as we strive every day to live the living tradition of the Visitation sisters, who we are so indebted to. I am so grateful to have the opportunity to gather with you here tonight, connect with you virtually. I certainly wish that I could see all of you rather than staring at a camera, but I can envision all of you, and I look forward very much to the time where we can all gather together again in person safely. These times have really challenged us to think creatively about how we can stay connected, how we can stay together, how we can continue to be Visitation, the Visitation that we all know and love. And we are absolutely grateful for the technology that allows us to have this connection. And honestly, I'm excited by some of the things that have come out of this, the new ways that we have learned how to connect with alums.
whether it is our Crescent Chats, which is our online gathering of alums from across the country that we had the opportunity to have lively discussions, or our Crescent Connection, which is our new regional alum chapter program, or of course the numerous phone calls and emails and Zoom. Our alums play a vital role here at Visitation. We rely on your continued partnership as a strong, proud alumni community who knows this school, loves this school, and believes in our mission and its legacy. Things look different here at Viz this year, and though as different as things may appear, the education, the visitation education remains the same. For instance, this year we invested in significant amount of technology for obvious reasons. We even put 360-degree view cameras in every classroom to help our teachers innovate in this challenging time, but also to enhance the learning of all of our students, both those that are in person with us in the classroom and those that are taking advantage of the school at home program. And even with all of that change in the way we do school, true to Visitation, our teachers' main commitment is to meet students where they are, to build that connection, to make those heart-to-heart relationships that are the core of who we are. Our school looks different because we have plexiglass in a lot of places and hand sanitizer, and we are living with new health and safety protocols that infiltrate every aspect of our day-to-day life here. And yet our focus remains on the academics and on the spiritual growth of our students. We have been challenged to reimagine the way we use our buildings and our campus. And we are so incredibly grateful to the sisters for the gift of the use of this school building and of our beautiful grounds and of the sacred space that is the monastery. It really is this monastery space and the rethinking of the way to be able to use that respectfully that we are able to welcome our students on campus for in-person learning this fall. That space allowed us to spread our students out in a way that we could keep everyone at a social distance and do school in person. It's with the sisters' partnership and blessing that we thought through the use of that space. That space, as you heard from Sister, is being used as classroom space, as office space, as faculty workspace. We were able to convert the infirmary for needs for our students, and it has been remarkable. You will see today on our grounds, our lower school students taking a nature walk through the trails and around the pond. You'll see our middle school students capturing the beauty of the sisters' garden through photography in their art class. You will see our students, as was mentioned before, enjoying each other's company, spreading out on the sisters' lawn and having lunch. We certainly have taken great care to preserve the monastery space. We know how sacred and special that space is. We are using the space as is without renovation so that we continue the long-range thinking about the best way to use that space to honor the sisters' legacy. I was very touched by Sister Mary Francis's words earlier when she said, watching our students learn and grow and play within what was once the sisters' home is hope in action. It is through that type of an example of our sisters and the way that they model how to approach difficult times with that joyful optimism and that gentle strength. That is what continues to move us forward. It's what continues to inspire us. Knowing that the sisters' time here, 147 years, they certainly were not immune to hardships. In fact, we use and continue to seek that guidance every day, and especially during these difficult times. We look back at history and how sisters made decisions during difficult times to help us be guided forward. This summer, when we are faced with so many challenges related to social justice, to the pandemic, to racial equity, and so much more, answers sometimes for these difficult questions are hard to come by, and I found myself needing to find some quiet time. And I took that quiet moment in the Sisters' Cemetery, which is not too far from here. And as I was reading the sisters' names, I was struck by that soon after they moved here to Mendota Heights, they lost 2 sisters within 13 days of each other who were pillars, leaders in the community. Sister Frances DeSales Larpenter and Sister Teresa Doherty. Both of those were strong leaders in the community at that time. And I'm thinking they just made this decision to move to Mendota Heights, which was difficult, I'm sure, given their long history in St. Paul. And then to have that loss, I imagine that it was a difficult time. The sisters, of course, had other sisters ready to step into those roles, to continue to move forward, to continue to make sure that the school and the community was thriving. You heard many of those sisters' names with Sister Mary Paula, but sisters such as Sister Mary Patricia Hines, Sister Peron Marie, Sister Marie Therese, and then, of course, our own dear sister, Sister Mary Denise, Sister Mary Paula, Sister Bridget Marie, and Sister Mary Frances. We are so grateful for all of these beautiful women. They have shown us all how to persevere with courage, with strength, with that joyful heart. And now we are all asked to step into that space to continue to help our school flourish. All of those who have known and loved the sisters and believe in our legacy. We will not know what we will face next. But we do know that we are being called to persevere during difficult times. And not just persevere, but to thrive. We know that we are called to continue our important work in our racial equity work. And we're called to continue to educate our young people to be strong, resilient people who see the needs of others. And we are called to continue the work towards a more just society. I am absolutely filled with gratitude for the sisters' beautiful example and the way that they inspire us every day. I imagine that the sisters have always relied heavily on the Salesian virtue of inner peace, which we chose this year, I think fittingly, to be our virtue for the school year. St. Francis de Sales says, "Do not lose your inner peace for anything whatsoever. Even if the world is completely upset, continue to guide your heart back to God." Every day I am inspired by our incredible faculty who, even though things have been challenging, they had to rethink everything they've done with education, they lead with their heart. They look to meet the needs of our students, to help them through this time, to love and care for them, and to help them grow as students. I am inspired every day by our students who are coming into a school year that is very different than what they imagined and hoped. And yet they came in with gratitude, with the gratefulness to being together. And they have adapted mostly to our everyday health and safety protocols that are so necessary right now, like temp checks every morning, wearing masks, and that proverbial social distancing at all times, that 6 feet apart, which, as you might imagine, for our young women in the hallways is probably the most challenging thing ever. But they know the importance, and they are working very hard to do this. I am proud of our faculty, I am proud of our students, I am proud of our community to band together to continue to move our school forward in this challenging time. This is a school year like no other. But no matter how many things change, what remains is our steadfast belief in our school and in our legacy and in all of you. I want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the evening. And now you'll hear a message from our alum board. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Visitation's virtual reunion. My name is Sally Brandt Wangenstein, class of 1995 and president of the Alumni Board. We are so happy that we can celebrate with the alumni community during these unique times. Even though we aren't able to gather in person, it is wonderful that so many from near and far can be here with us as we look back with gratitude and look forward with hope. We are also celebrating the class of 1995's 25th reunion and the class of 1970's 50th reunion. I had the honor of being a part of the class of 1995, and I remember loading up my yellow Walkman with the Smashing Pumpkins, Blues Traveler, and of course, Sweet Jane by the Cowboy Junkies as I swapped my uniform for flannels and Doc Martens, or a classic Ann Taylor look. Bill Clinton was midway through his first term as the President of the United States, while Aaron Dady was president of the Visitation Student Council, and Sari Gurnis was our senior class president. It was a great year for women in sports, as tennis legend Chris Evert was entered into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, and Steffi Graf won Wimbledon, as well as the French and US Opens. Meanwhile, Viz made Minnesota history by joining forces with St. Paul Academy to become one of the first high schools to have a girls hockey team. And while The Lion King and Forrest Gump lit up the silver screen, and Friends, Seinfeld, and My So-Called Life shone into our living rooms, Vista impressed us with productions of Working, Wings, and Into the Woods in our very own DeSales Auditorium. So while it was the year of the OJ trial and the Oklahoma City bombing devastated the country, Toni Morrison won the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature, and we were making our own memories as we voted for Buffy Gorilla to be Winter Carnival Queen and dedicated our yearbook to beloved Mr. Nickel. To all the memories we've shared and those we've made since our time together, let's raise a glass to the class of 1995. Now I would like to introduce Lily Gibba O'Neill, Vice President of the Alumni Board.
Thank you, Sally. As she said, I am Lily Gibba O'Neill, Vice President of the Alumni Association, class of 2002. Tonight, we are also honoring the class of 1970, whose 36 members are celebrating 50 years as Visitation alumni. That year, John Wayne won Best Actor, and Midnight Cowboy took home the Oscar for Best Picture. Meanwhile, actors at Viz walked the boards performing Song of Norway, which would become a motion picture later that same year. I can only imagine that as Mary McLean accepted her crown as Winter Carnival Queen, Viz girls got down to some Rolling Stones, Three Dog Night, and Jackson 5. Outside, the world tousled in the throes of the Vietnam War and the rise of a peace and love counterculture, while the sisters of the Visitation settled into Mendota Heights, molding the minds and hearts of these young women who would go out into the world as leaders amidst the women's rights movement. Within the walls of the campus, the class of 1970 trusted their class president, Elizabeth Schaff, and their student body president, Kathy Hartnett, while Richard Nixon sat in the White House. So while there may have been unrest in the world reflected in Simon and Garfunkel's Grammy-winning Bridge Over Troubled Waters and the Beatles breaking up, John Lennon released Let It Be, a call to inner peace. So ladies, it's been quite a ride launched by your time here at Visitation. So please join me in saying cheers to the class of 1970.
Marnie Fleming, class of 1989. Leah Sheely Swenson, 1982.
Stephanie Russ Johnson, class of 1999.
Sister Mary Paula, class of 47 when I was known as Tilly McCarthy.
Verna Halligan Turnow, class of 1999.
Sally Brandt Wangenstein, class of 1995.
Katie Heineman Najjar, class of 2001.
Patty Boo Pryor, class of 1984.
Katie Sheehan, class of 1995.
Stephanie Schweiger Donnelly, class of 1992.
Elizabeth Eldridge, class of 2005. Lily Gibba O'Neill, class of 2002.
Cheers to a wonderful 2020 reunion.
Hi, Ms. O'Connor here. Happy to be talking with you, except it's not with you, which I wish it were. But here we go. Remember when somebody had the audacity to ask to go to the bathroom during my class, I would say, sure, and they would leave, and then I would say, what trick shall we play on her? And then we hid her purse or her pencil case, or one day her desk. That was so cool. And then somebody got so smart and said one day when somebody left, let's hide the class. And so we all went down to the lavatory at the end of the hall. The only problem was we couldn't see her face when she came back to an empty classroom. The joy in doing that was that we laughed, and in laughing we released endorphins, and in releasing endorphins we learned better. It's so cool. So I hope you've gone on to laugh a lot as you've gone through life. Besides playing tricks, I also enjoyed immensely teaching composition. I loved reading what you wrote. I know I put stars next to things that you wrote, words that you wrote, ideas that you expressed. But a wonderful teacher at Hamlin, Deborah Keenan, taught me to write the word yes with an exclamation point. next to something you said. And I'm sorry that that came to me later in life, but it's a wonderful thing. And I hope you have had yeses on your papers. I also remember doing free writing a lot, and I hope you remember it too. Friday, free writing, when I asked you to take your notebook, turn it to the back, turn it upside down, date it, and then the only rule was you couldn't stop writing. I'd give you a topic, but I didn't care if you stayed on the topic or if you went to something else, or I didn't care about spelling or grammar. I promised you I would never read it, and I never did. But at the end of each semester, I let you read it from beginning to end, and then we talked about what happened. And I remember you saying, if I wrote about something that had a lot of feeling attached to it, the feeling came back, which I thought, oh, wonderful writing that you did that. And that you remembered stuff you had forgotten. So I'm glad you had the opportunity to do that. I hope you have continued reading and writing in these years, certainly post me, after and post Biz, in your wonderful lives. I also remember saying, there is such a thing as a Biz girl. I've learned that over the years. There is such a thing as a biz girl. And I think it's definitely defined, if one can define it, with that wonderful phrase from Salesian spirituality of gentle strength. And I hope it continues to be in your lives these days and to help you get through the awful stuff like COVID. Great to be able to talk to you. Be safe, be well.
So, in case you don't remember, I started teaching at Viz in 1980, and I retired in 2012. It's a lot of math, but you know, math, who needs it? I am doing some teaching still, volunteering with adult immigrants. And right now I'm doing it using FaceTime, which is kind of interesting. Our son was 4 years old when I started at Viz, and now he's 44. He's also in education. Our greatest joy is our family, son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandsons. Owen's now 13 in 8th grade, and Brody is 11 in 5th grade. And we have mucho fun, which I think you know is Spanish. Remember that. Although there was no boys club, even though some people thought there was, I still get together and see Jeff Sheehan, Kevin Nickel, and Jim Tashan. Of course, I miss Doc Walsh and Bob Shandor. When I taught government and politics, I focused on really trying to be balanced. I always thought it was an appropriate thing to do in teaching that course. And now, of course, that I'm retired, I don't need to be balanced. So I can encourage you all to vote this fall, obviously, November 3rd. I just want to give my best to all alums and to my colleagues. And as Elvis would say, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Greetings to all of you Visitation alums tuning in for this online reunion experience. I am Ms. McNeil, as some of you may remember, or Mrs. Doroff, for those of you I taught way back when. I imagine you have memories of our learning Latin and reading Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre, or discussing A Tale of Two Cities and Macbeth. So many classics and so many wonderful years. I also discovered recently that A Tale of Two Cities is the best-selling novel of all times. I hope that you are all staying healthy and safe. Thank you.
Hello, Visitation alumni. I'm Elizabeth Arnstein, and I have been teaching at Visitation from 2001 until 2020. I taught English in the upper school all that time. I taught freshmen and juniors and a couple electives, and I'm so delighted to say hello to you on your alumni reunion weekend. As you may have heard, my family and I have moved to St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands for a couple of years. I took a sabbatical from Visitation. They kindly granted me that, and I am here teaching English in a really different experience. I'm teaching grades 7 through 12, boys and girls, in 4 different preps. So it is a really wild adventure. And I love the work. And I get to go to the beach every weekend and be outdoors, but I definitely miss Visitation. And I feel so lucky that I have been able to hear from alumni over the years. I get to see you when you're in town. I've connected with you on Facebook and over email. And so please keep in touch. I still have my Viz email address. Would love to hear from you. Mostly, I want to just say how much I enjoyed being with you when I was able to be your teacher. And I hope that you are doing great things and chasing your dreams and doing work or studying things that really make your heart happy and that fulfill you and that make you feel like you have just a wonderful life and a great future. So happy reunion, so great to see all of you, and please keep in touch. Take care.
Good morning, bonjour, guten Tag. If you were here at Visitation in the 1980s, you probably heard from me one or more of those expressions. I taught here for 8 years from 1981 school year to the one that began in 1988. And I taught English and French and German. I taught mostly seniors, as it turned out. And while I don't have any illusions about how much my English students might remember about Shakespeare, or my French students might remember about Molière, or my German students might remember about Goethe, I hope you have reasonably good memories about the experience of being exposed to those things, and especially to those literatures. I wound up teaching a total of 46 years in the classroom. High school, I'd done a number of years before I came to Viz, and I did a number of years teaching writing in law schools after that. But I'd have to say the years at Viz are a very special memory for me. Partly, I suppose, this is because I went to Viz myself, starting in first grade in 1952 and finishing in 1964. Interestingly, right about the time I graduated from Viz, the oldest of my students were being born, 63, 64. I would have to tell you I did not anticipate the connection, nor did I anticipate the fact that some 35, 40 years after that, I would be talking to you with technology we frankly could not have begun to imagine as part of a Visitation reunion. Reunions were a wonderful time for getting together with one another, with people who taught you, with people whom you taught, with the people with whom you went to school here. Getting together is definitely not what we do these days, except by technology. So luckily, they've adapted technologically. And I would have to say that I hope that's one thing you did get out of your Viz education. I'm inclined to think that you probably did. We prided ourselves, I think legitimately, on the school's motto, not for school, but for life. It is my hope that our ability to adapt to changing circumstances, especially those circumstances like COVID, over which we have absolutely no ability to predict and no ability to control, was to some extent fostered by the education we got here. And especially by the ability to know what are the things, the really important things, the things that don't change, no matter how much circumstances change, no matter what life happens to throw us. Some of it we worked hard for and we got what we wanted and it all went very well. Some of it, by this point in your lives, you've probably tried for some things that you didn't make and wanted some things that you didn't get and had some misfortunes, perhaps, although I hope not, but it's realistic to suppose some of you have had tragedies. And your ability to come through those things, and your ability to come through COVID, and whatever the future is going to bring us, we certainly don't know. These days we wouldn't even claim to know, was fostered by your Viz education. The values that you learned here, I would hope, are still of some service to you. And I am sure that the people who meet you, who deal with you, whose lives you touch, are affected by those visitation values too. For many years, as you might remember, I was the speaker at the Senior Mothers' Tea. And one of the things I said there seems all the more true now. Your ability to work hard, to learn, to change, to develop, and above all, your interest in contributing to the world around you, I think were all fostered at Viz. And I am as certain today as I was in a classroom with you years ago that the world is a better place because you were here and you've carried its values into the world. I really wish I could see a lot of you again, and I hope there will be reunions when we can, in fact, get together.
Everything that's going on, I want there to be, I guess, peace and justice for every person. I guess I came out here today and I've almost never been more proud of my city, to see the way that everyone's coming together, to see that honestly all of us are the same.
So as you just saw, we're very excited to introduce the new 2020 Viz Alumni Christmas ornament, which will be available soon for pre-order. And keep an eye out for that, as well as more information about our upcoming virtual kickoff events for the new regional chapter program, the Crescent Connection. And now for your trivia answers. Question number 1, how many alums currently have children attending Visitation School? The answer was D. There are 57 alums with children enrolled at Viz, at least one in every grade from the child care all the way through 12th grade. So our winner is Catherine Ferraro of 2008. Question number 2, what year did the last Visitation class graduate at the Visitation on Fairmont? Answer is B, 1966. Jeannie Sato from the class of 1986 wins that one. Question number 3, how many alums are currently members of the Visitation faculty and staff? We have 24 alums, which was answer C. Kathleen DeFate of 1971 is our winner for that question. Question number 4, according to yearbooks, Viz athletes were first referred to as Blazers in what school year? Answer was A, 1986 to 87. So Angela Domingo from 1980 is our winner. And finally, how many peacocks currently live at Visitation? There are 4. Answer B. So Becky Romatowski from 2002 wins. We'll be in touch about your prizes. So that is our program tonight. Please go now and jump on those Crescent chats on Zoom to catch up with each other. And on behalf of everyone here at Viz, thank you so much for joining us for Viz's Virtual Reunion 2020. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again online and in person.